The Pitbull is one of the most hated dog breeds in the world.
Pitbull attack.
But the Pitbull, a Pitbull.
This isn't just my opinion. It's reflected in countless rankings that place this breed at the top. Many countries have set their sights on it. In others, they are outright banned, and in a few, euthanasia is mandatory. From constant harassment to constant criticism of their behavior, this breed has rarely received positive attention. But what would you think if I told you that the Pitbull is actually a true misunderstood dog? There was even a time when it was the quintessential nanny dog, because no other breed was better at protecting and caring for children. Something doesn't quite add up here. It seems that all this haste is misplaced. But where did this all begin? And why has this particular breed become so reviled? Today, I want to address this issue. Are pit bulls really the dangerous beasts that people believe them to be? Are they truly genetically dangerous? Or is their reputation solely the result of human prejudice and poor management by their owners? In a previous video, I mentioned how much I love big dogs. However, while the pit bull isn't among my favorites, I can't help but feel impressed when I see one. Its robustness, distinctive ears, deep-set eyes, and imposing stance are characteristics that have led me to admire this breed. Reflecting on this fascination, I realize I probably inherited it from my father, who had a particular fondness for pit bulls. Despite his affection, we could never have one because we lived in a small apartment. But everything changed when we moved to a house with a backyard. I vividly remember the day a pit bull puppy, whom we named Zeus, came into our lives. My father walked in excited, trying to convince my mother that we should keep him. Curiously, my mother, who had never been a big animal lover, decided to accept Zeus. One day, my mother asked me to take Zeus to the backyard because a friend of hers, Mary, was coming over for dinner. To be honest, I was a bit annoyed by this request. Why should I take Zeus out of his own home? Our dog was well behaved, so I didn't see the need to put him outside. Nevertheless, 10 minutes later, Mary arrived. Years have passed since that incident, but I still remember her face. Zeus was sitting, staring innocently at our guest through the window, showing no trace of aggression or interest in her. However, Mary suddenly became frightened, almost as if she had seen a ghost. She was so scared that she couldn't move. She started hyperventilating and screaming. It was a pretty awkward moment for everyone. I realized then that Mary was having a panic attack solely because of my dog. It was a truly bewildering scene. Why would a rational adult woman be so afraid of a dog that, to me, was just a friendly puppy? What had happened to her previously that caused such a reaction? Later, we learned that Mary was afraid of this breed of dog, but at the time, I didn't understand and didn't delve into the situation, as I am now willing to do. In fact, I tell you this story because ever since that day, whenever I see a pit bull, I remember that incident. And today, I recalled it again while walking down the street when I saw a similar situation where a man was asking the owner to put a muzzle on his pit bull because it is supposedly a bad breed. Bad? It's time to shed light on this issue. I've always believed that dogs are not inherently bad. Rather, it's their owners. But upon researching, I found that this breed has been regarded as something like the devil of dogs for many years. Even the internet is filled with news about pit bulls, aiming to portray them as extremely dangerous. This investigation goes beyond just the breed itself. I found it curious that the news always blames the breed. But what about human behavior, the environments that expose so-called aggressive dogs? Why have some countries even banned this breed? Is there really an aggressive gene in pit bulls? Or is all this just a denialist movement to condemn a breed? And if that's the case, why wasn't Zeus aggressive? Moreover, during those years, I met many other pit bulls, and none appeared aggressive. Well, let me tell you that I've looked deeply into this, and I have plenty of interesting things to share. But first, let's start with the origin. How and why did the Pitbull come to be? To be honest, it's quite interesting to know how one of today's most powerful and controversial canines originated. The breed's origins date back to the early 19th century in the United Kingdom, where the Old English Bulldogs, predecessors of modern American Bulldogs, became popular. These dogs were involved in bull baiting, a bloody sport in which one or two bulldogs would harass a bull until it collapsed from exhaustion or injuries. Such events were common as a form of entertainment for the working class, providing an escape from daily life. Well, if you think harming other animals is a way to relieve everyday stress, there's something wrong with your mindset. By 1835, with the enactment of the Cruelty to Animals Act by the British Parliament, the practice of bull baiting came to an end. This led the public to seek other forms of entertainment, like ratting, where dogs competed to catch the most rats in the shortest amount of time. Curiously, this is where the name of the breed comes from, as the term pit in pitbull derives from the pits used in these competitions to prevent the rats from escaping. Eventually, attention shifted to dog fighting, which could be carried out more discreetly and evade the law. The need for greater agility and speed in these new forms of competition led to the crossbreeding of bulldogs with terriers, giving rise to the bull and terriers, later known as the first pit bull terriers. When the Civil War began, numerous immigrants from the British Isles settled in the United States, bringing their loyal pit bulls with them. It was during this period that the Pit Bull Terrier officially acquired the name American Pit Bull Terrier. Originally bred for combat, these dogs quickly transcended their initial purpose to become essential members of an emerging nation. American workers were completely fascinated by the arrival of this breed in the United States, as they were responsible for herding and protecting livestock, defending homes and families from thieves and beasts, assisting in hunting and capturing pigs. Additionally, they were particularly loyal and affectionate toward people, especially children, which led to their nickname, the Nanny Dog, securing them a prominent place not only as working dogs, but also as loyal companions. Yes, as unbelievable as it may seem, the Pitbull was the preferred dog to care for children. Over time, public perception shifted. It went from having a combative image to one that portrayed them as faithful companions of the working class. Even in both world wars, pit bulls became national symbols. Their representation of courage and loyalty adorned war propaganda posters. Among the most famous military dogs is Sergeant Stubby, recognized as the most decorated war dog of World War I, and the only one to be nominated and promoted to sergeant for combat merits. Stubby served for 18 months on the front lines, participating in 17 battles and 4 major campaigns. Thanks to his keen sense of smell, he saved his regiment from surprise mustard gas attacks and found and comforted the wounded. His story is a testament to the valor and dedication of many pit bulls who have served their country in times of conflict. So, what happened? Why is this breed synonymous with danger today? Well, something occurred that I call criminal trend, where, unfortunately, the criminalization of certain acts attracts the attention of criminal elements. During the resurgence of dog fighting in the 1980s, animal rights activists intensified their fight against this cruel, barbaric, and illegal practice. However, an unintended side effect was that criminals began to seek out pit bulls for nefarious purposes. These criminals forced the dogs into roles for which they were not designed, transforming a breed known for its kindness into aggressive guardians and fighters in underground fights. Thus, pit bulls began to be associated with environments related to poverty, with street criminals and crime being perceived more as commercial objects than as family members. The peak of the breed's bad reputation came when the cover of Time magazine in 1987 read, "The Pitbull, Friend and Killer." It was at this point that it was truly portrayed as a complete threat. This media representation contributed to the demonization of the pit bull, as seen in a Sports Illustrated article that stated, "Beware of this dog." These images led the mass public to fear pit bulls, considering them dangerous and unfit for family life, resulting in a shocking increase in abandonments and dogs being sent to shelters. In other words, it was a complete disaster that no one wanted to investigate, let alone get to the root of the problem, where the real victims were thousands of pit bulls. In seeking to solve what seemed to be a flaw in this breed, a new breed was emerged, the American Bully. Through artificial selection, of course, developed in the United States in the 1990s, from the American Pitbull Terrier and the American Staffordshire Terrier, along with other bulldog breeds, to create a companion dog with a balanced temperament and a more approachable appearance to replace the Pitbull. But was it really true that this breed became completely aggressive and just like that, overnight? September 2024, Newark. A girl was fatally attacked by a pit bull, the second serious attack in Essex County within a week. The news emphasized that such tragedies reinforce fear of the breed. July 2024, Brooklyn Park. An incident involved a 3-year-old boy who was critically injured after being attacked by 2 pit bulls. In Bogota, Colombia, an adult was attacked by his own pit bulls. The truth is, all these reports left me profoundly affected. They lead me to question whether, after all this historical context and so many incidents, this breed could have experienced some change in its genetics that makes it more aggressive. After extensive research, I found articles like this, or this one, that show dog behavior is not determined by breed, but largely depends on upbringing and the environment in which they are raised. In fact, statistics indicate that 90% of incidents involve pit bulls that were abused or raised to be aggressive. However, this is not entirely true. There are other studies that demonstrate this is a half-truth because, to be honest, there are other factors that can lead to aggressive behavior, such as illness, stress, dominance, lack of socialization with other animals, or even depression. But among all these predictive factors explaining a dog's aggression, one particularly surprised me: the hereditary factor. According to research, abnormal aggression may be associated with underlying anxiety. While the context in which aggression manifests is relevant, its importance should not be overstated. Genetics also play a role in aggression, as evidenced by its transmission within family lines. However, and listen closely to what I'm about to say, this cannot be generalized to an entire breed. In fact, I found another study indicating that aggression profiles in dogs are not inherently associated with any specific breed. A specific type of relationship between dog and owner, or a particular country. That is to say, the aggression factors in British and Australian dogs don't have to align with those of Iranian or Brazilian dogs. This, to be honest, blew my mind. Now, how much does the hereditary factor influence aggression? Can a pit bull be aggressive even in a loving environment with good upbringing? Genetics can influence behavior, but it's not the only factor. In fact, over 80% of a dog's aggressive behavior is often learned. Socialization, training, and environment in which they are raised play crucial roles. What I mean is that responsible upbringing and a positive environment are key to preventing aggression in any breed of dog, including pit bulls, of course. Given all the doubts that have arisen on this topic, I wondered, should I be concerned about the breeding of the dog I bought or adopted? Perhaps this story will answer that question. In 2007, former NFL quarterback Michael Vick was investigated for suspected involvement in an illegal dogfighting ring. Over 70 dogs, mostly pit bulls, were found in this investigation, all showing signs of injury and were subsequently seized. Generally, these dogs would all be considered untrainable and consequently euthanized. But organizations like Best Friends Animal Society and MallRap took the initiative to work with these dogs, successfully rehoming most of them. What was the outcome? Attacks? Injuries? No. The pit bulls that were once fighters emerged as loving and functional members of society. And this is where I want to get to. As long as you care for your pit bull in a nurturing environment with responsible upbringing, your dog shouldn't become stressed and consequently react aggressively. So, why do so many countries ban pit bulls? Countries like Finland and France have joined the ban on these dogs. In Germany, they are banned in 15 of the 16 federal states, as well in Guyana, Ireland, Israel, Italy, parts of Japan, and Malaysia. In New Zealand, they are so radical that they mandated mandatory euthanasia for pit bulls. If aggression is not exclusive to the breed, why this measure? Well, aside from the fact that the image of pit bulls has been affected by incidents leading to a widespread perception of them as dangerous. some governments opted for bans as a preventative measure, trying to reduce the likelihood of attacks and injuries. But why not show the other side of this coin? To be honest, as cruel as it sounds, it's easier to ban the breed than to promote education on handling and training strong, energetic dogs. What these governments refuse to acknowledge is that it's worth the effort to encourage responsible breeding, as many families miss out on the love of one of the most loyal, intuitive, clever, and affectionate breeds out there. This is the story of Simba, as told by the page The Dodo. Simba is a pit bull who lives in an apartment in Sweden with his owner, Arjanit Mihana, who was feared in his neighborhood solely for having a pit bull. A particular neighbor, an elderly woman living in the apartment below, was especially cold toward Simba. However, one day she showed that prejudice poisons the soul and keeps us from enjoying the love these animals can offer. Mihana and his dog were returning from a walk when something unusual happened while passing by the neighbor's house. Simba, restless, refused to walk further and barked at the neighbor's entrance. Mihana tried to move him along, but Simba insisted. And that's when Mihana heard a faint call for help from inside. When he opened the door, he found the neighbor on the floor, unable to get up after fracturing her hip. 2 days had passed without anyone noticing her critical situation. Thanks to Simba's persistence, Mihana called emergency services and stayed by the neighbor's side until the help arrived, saving her life thanks to the intervention of a dog she had previously avoided. Now, look at how this girl manages her 6 pit bulls, who not only don't look dangerous at all, but also respond to the call to eat. And what about this one? When the father begins to scold his daughter, the pit bull, showing no aggression towards its owner, intervenes to prevent the little girl from being harmed. This heroic act not only highlights the loyalty and courage of pit bulls, but also challenges the negative stereotypes they often face. Surprising, isn't it? This is a call from me to you to say that a dog's behavior is deeply influenced by how it's treated as it grows up. Dogs that suffer abuse tend to develop aggressive behaviors, as violence and fear may be the only responses they know. Dogs raised in a loving, understanding, and respectful environment will never be aggressive. Dogs are a reflection of their environment. If we raise them with love and discipline, they will respond the same way. But if we foster violence, the result will be inevitable. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. This is the Dog Inspector. See you next time.